I am a genius. Hey BookTube, it's Kim at Middle of the Book March. And as you've heard, if you've been watching me for any length of time, I hate doing TBRs. However, for April, because there are a few read-alongs that I really wanted to take part in, I'm doing this video for what could I possibly read in April. So I have a plan. Well, I have a loose plan. I have some plans. So I wanted to show you the pile of possibilities of books that I wanted to read in April. And I am a genius because I've combined the two read-alongs that were important to me this month to be involved in. So I'm going to talk about them in alphabetical order. And the two are People April and Trans Girl April. So People April is being hosted by Elizabeth at Bookends and Books and Roz from Scallydandling About the Books. So let me show you what I'm going to be reading in April. And I have combined the two read-alongs because there were several books that were a biography or a collection of some sort that were highlighting a specific person. So it could have been a biography or an autobiography or a memoir, something of that sort. But let me tell you about two books that I'm currently reading that will be most likely going over into April. So my book group and I are going through Middlemarch, and I have gone past and finished book 5 out of 8 books. So we're taking a gap week, and we're going to be discussing book 5 on April 8th, I think, so that weekend. So we've got a little bit of time, almost a week and a half to discuss book 5, which I've completed. But I will finish this in April. And then I'm also reading David Copperfield by Charles Dickens, and I started this a while ago. I picked it back up, and I've been completing it a little bit at a time. I found an audio with Richard Armitage as the narrator. He played Thorin in the Hobbit movies, and his voice is fantastic narrating David Copperfield. So I'm switching between reading and listening to it, and that will carry over into April. So let me show you what I have for my other books that will apply to my two different read-alongs. I have one buddy read in April, and this book has nothing to do with either read-along, but this is The Wind Whistling in the Cranes, a novel by Lídia, Jorge, and this is a translated novel. This is translated from the Portuguese by Margaret, Jull, Costa, and Annie McDermott. I am going to be buddy reading this book with a wonderful, consistent, supportive subscriber and commenter, Jorge, who is Portuguese, and he says he will be supporting me if I have any questions on Portuguese culture and language and everything. And so he and I are going to be reading this book together the first few weeks in April. So let me show you the books that I chose for People April. Now, People April, it has been all over BookTube already, but it's basically a read-along where we read books that are biographies, autobiographies, letters, memoirs, any book that kind of highlights a person or possibly a group of people. So what are my choices for the books I'll possibly read? The first one is Cleopatra, A Life by Stacy Schiff. I have seen so many booktubers that I respect and like and have similar taste with read this book, and they loved it. And it's exactly what it sounds like it is. It's a biography of Cleopatra. And this would be the first book of Stacy Schiff's that I will read. I have 2 of her other books, but I found this in Goodwill. I think I bought it for $2, and I want to get to that one during People April. The other one, I think this is going to be The Mountain I Climb in April, because it's a pretty heavy book. It's long, and it's also very scientific. So this is Codebreaker by Walter Isaacson. And this is Jennifer Doudna, Gene Editing, and the Future of the Human Race. I actually can't wait to get to this book, but it is a long one, and I'm expecting it's going to be science heavy because it's talking about gene editing, and she is a scientist. So I really am looking forward to this. Let's see. Walter Isaacson, our author, is a professor of history at Tulane. He's been CEO of the Aspen Institute, chair of CNN, and editor of Time. He has many other biographies. He is the author of Leonardo da Vinci, The Innovators, Steve Jobs, Einstein, His Life and Universe, Benjamin Franklin, An American Life, and Kissinger, a biography. So I'm thinking that her story is in very capable hands. And this one, I'm going lowbrow for this one. This is Last Chance Texaco by Ricky Lee Jones, Chronicles of an American Troubadour. I loved Ricky Lee Jones in the 70s and 80s, and I've just recently hauled this, maybe a few months ago. I can't wait to read this book. I just think this is going to be really interesting and fun. I'm not typically a music biography reader or even that interested in pop culture biographies or memoirs, but I am really looking forward to this one. So, I have, those are the books, those are 3 books in hard copy that I want to read for People April. The other read-along I can't wait to get to is Trans Girl April, and Trans Girl April is hosted by Kevvie at Say Kevvie and Willow at Books and Bow. And I have 3 novels, and I also have a poetry collection and 2 biographies or memoirs that I wanted to read. So let me tell you about those. The first one is a translated novel, and I was really glad to kind of find this, and it was an accidental discovery. I don't even know how I did it. But this is Sergio Y by Alexander Vidal Porto. This is translated from the Portuguese by Alex Ladd, and this is a Europa edition. This is a book about a renowned therapist in Sao Paulo nearing the end of a long, illustrious career. And he takes on a teenage patient named Sergio, who is the son of a wealthy Brazilian businessman. Their son is suffering from what sounds like depression and an emotional disorder, and his parents are really concerned, and they bring him to this long-time celebrated therapist. But what the therapist fails to catch on to is Sergio is a trans girl who wants to finally live her life as Sandra and ends up moving to New York City. The therapist is surprised and shocked that they didn't catch up or catch this or didn't pick up on this, and is trying to figure out what happened. What did I do wrong? So that's that one. And I thought it was so interesting that it's this might sound weird, but it's not an American novel, or I thought it was refreshing to find a novel from a different country talking about a trans character. So it was, looking forward to that one. This one is Paul Takes the Form of a Mortal Girl by Andrea Lawler, who is a non-binary author. And this is a weird one, and I've seen a lot of reviews on this one that said it's excellent. And it's set in 1993, and Paul Polydorus tends bar at the only gay club in a university town, buzzing with politics and partying. Now, the back of the book talks about Paul being a shapeshifter. He can transform between genders at his will, and he's struggling, and he's going back and forth and kind of experimenting and trying to kind of come of age with his identity. So just I've heard a lot of things about this book, and when I got my hands on it, I'm like, that just sounds fascinating. The next one, this book has been around. You've probably seen several reviews of this, and it's been around on several other channels. This is Little Fish by Casey Plett. Casey Plett is a trans-Canadian author. This won the Globe and Mail Best Book, the 2019 Amazon Canada First Novel Award. So it's an award-winning, lauded book by a trans author, and set in Canada. And honestly, that's all I want to read right now, because I've had this one for a little bit. Really looking forward to this. I know that there's some trigger warnings in here. There's some disturbing content, mental health, and that type of thing. So, FYI. Now, there's a few other books that will combine. Those were the novels. And there's a few other nonfiction books that will combine with People April. The first one is Trans/Active, a biography of Gwendolyn Ann Smith. And this is by Sophia Cecilia Levesque. And Gwendolyn Ann Smith is the illustrator for this. And she is the founder of Transgender Day of Remembrance. And this is kind of a biography of her life and her activism and transgender equality. And I thought, I would love to read that and learn more about her. Another one is Even This Page is White by Vivek Shreya, and this is a poetry collection. So we can put that one back in the fiction category. But it's her debut poetry collection. And I've said this many times too, that poetry is not typically the primary genre I reach for, but this one looks really good. And in it, she's a trans author from Canada, and she talks about race and color. That sounded really good. This one is for People April, and this is the life of Christine Jorgensen, the first transgender woman you never heard about. And this is by Jennifer Hopkins. Christine Jorgensen was a American trans woman who was the first person to have the type of exposure as when she went to get surgery, sex reassignment surgery, or reassignment surgery. And she was born in 1926 and passed away in 1989. She was an actress, a singer, and a recording artist. That, by all means, if I count correctly, that is 6 books, I think. Six books for... No, it's not 6 books for each read-along, but it's 12 books altogether. Now, I'm not promising anything. I'm not promising I'm going to read and or finish all of these books. I DNF like a fiend, and I am not going to be ashamed of that. You know that if you've watched my videos. But if I DNF one of these books, I'll probably replace it with something else. And I may or may not get to all of them. But these are my selections for People April and Trans Girl April. And really looking forward to this upcoming month. I'm looking forward to finishing some of the books that will spill over, and looking forward to my buddy read with Jorge. So, that is it for me. Let me know in the comments below if you're going to take part in any of the read-alongs, or if you've read any of these books and what you think. Let me know if you're interested in any, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, everybody.